Hello again, I'm Ellyn Bader, and this is the second in a series of videos and blogs that I'm sending you about the difficulty of working with unmotivated partners in couples therapy. First, I'd like to thank all of you who responded to the first video, where I covered the biggest obstacle that interferes with change, the retreat into the safety of a self-protective emotional bubble. And when one partner retreats to their self-protection, their partner is triggered to retreat as well. And when it gets beyond their tolerance, they call you and hope that you will motivate their partner to become a better person. Today I'm going to take you into a deeper understanding of the 4 components of motivation. Motivation is generally thought about in terms of desire. However, desire, even strong desire, is just the beginning of the story. Let's look at the other 3 elements of motivation. They are likelihood of success, unwanted effort, and the degree of emotional risk. All 4 elements can be combined into the couple's motivation equation. Wow, just think about it. 4 components that can actually be put into an equation. The formula then looks like this. Couples motivation equals desire plus the likelihood of success divided by unwanted effort plus emotional risk. And you definitely do not have to be a math whiz to benefit from understanding this equation. In fact, let's look at each part separately with an example from Jill and Joe using her desire for more physical affection from him. Jill wants more attention and physical contact from Joe. Typically, Joe seems uninterested in physical contact except when they're having sex. I wanted to see how Joe scored on the equation, so I asked him to rate each component on a scale from 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest and 1 the lowest. Joe said he knows that he would be a better partner to Jill if he was more affectionate. In fact, he even knows that he might get more sex if he was physically affectionate with Jill at other times than when they are in bed. Joe rated his actual level of desire to improve about a 5. He knew he wouldn't be focusing on this if it didn't matter to Jill, but he can understand what it means to her, and he recognizes there might be benefits to him as well. Joe says that his expected likelihood of success for improvement is not all that high. He's busy, overwhelmed, and frequently tired when he gets home from work. It's not easy for him to remember her request, so he gives his likelihood a 4 at best. Joe says his amount of unwanted effort will be high. He did not grow up in a touchy-feely family, and being physically affectionate does not come naturally to him. He feels awkward and uncomfortable, and change will indeed take a lot of effort that won't come easily. He will not remember so well that this matters to Jill, so he gives himself an 8. Joe also sees a high degree of emotional risk for improvement. He fears rejection, and he often hears from Jill that what he does is not good enough. So there's a risk that he will try and fail and feel hurt, and he gives this an 8. So putting it all together again in the formula, we get desire equals 5, likelihood of success 4, so that's 9. The unwanted effort is 8, and emotional risk is 8. So 9 divided by 16 is equal to 0.56. This is an example of very low motivation. Now let's look at an opposite example where the motivation is higher. Ted's mother died recently. He wants Sally to be more supportive and nurturing. Sally wants to be supportive. She says her desire to be supportive is actually extremely high, like a 10. She wants Ted to feel nurtured and supported by her. She understands this would mean a lot to him, and she would feel good about herself for learning how to be more present with someone who's grieving. Her expected likelihood of success to be supportive, she said that even though she wanted to be successful, she felt shaky about her ability to know what to say. Historically, she had avoided emotional intensity and felt awkward, so she gave herself a 6. Sally says that her unwanted effort is actually low, probably a 2. She's more than willing to make the effort. The effort is embraced rather than unwanted. Her emotional risk to be supportive is actually high. It's risky because it's hard for her to stay calm when someone she loves is in emotional pain. She cries easily, gets flooded and speechless, and doesn't like feeling like a failure. She knows she has avoided emotional, intense discussions in the past. She scores herself an 8. The equation for her is 10 for desire plus 6 for success, divided by 2 for unwanted effort and 8 for emotional risk. That gives her 16 divided by 10, or 1.6. So this is an example of higher motivation. And how do we evaluate these numerical results? Theoretically, the motivation result could range anywhere from 0.1 to 10, with 10 being the highest possible motivation and 0.1 for absolutely the most dismal motivation. However, any number lower than 1 means work is needed on multiple elements and from collaboration by both partners to boost the overall motivation. Of course, we're doing math with subjective values, so the answers are really soft numbers. It's not like calculating a batting average or an interest rate, but the answers are still extremely revealing and helpful for identifying the overall course of change and for targeting a good place for you to begin. Basically, the higher the sum of the numerator and the lower the sum of the denominator, the greater the chance will be for overall success. Couples rarely bring in issues that are over about 2.7 or 3 because those are not very urgent or important, and they usually tackle those themselves. It's clear from the grief example that Sally's work is quite targeted. It means her learning to stay calm and be present when Ted expresses his grief. Her work is not on increasing her level of desire or even in the area of behavioral effort, but on developing emotional capacities. She will benefit from strengthening her boundaries, being able to listen without feeling responsible or flooded, and lowering her level of emotional contagion. And the primary work could take place with Sally. This is in direct contrast to Joe and Jill. With Joe's low motivation and Jill's high motivation, Joe and Jill will need to work together, and it will be up to you to facilitate Jill being more collaborative with Joe in that process. These examples demonstrate that being able to dissect the different components of motivation will help you quantify both the overall level of motivation, but especially to pinpoint whether to stress systemic or individual work. And identifying the areas of needed change will make your work so much more targeted. In the next video, which I'll send to you in a few days, I've asked my husband, Peter Pearson, to join me so we can expose more to you how we use these concepts over time with our own battle about household clutter. If you have an entrenched struggle with someone important in your life, and who doesn't, or if you see couples who struggle in one specific area, I think you'll enjoy listening to how we overcame criticism, complaining, and low motivation on the home front. And in the box below, let me know what you think of looking at motivation as having these 4 components. Better yet, try using the equation on yourself and posting your scores or any insights you get. You can also post the estimated values from a couple you know. Thanks for joining me today. I'm pleased to share with you this one aspect of the couples developmental model, which is designed to help couples collaborate more effectively and for you to be more successful as their therapist.